My wife accused me of stealing her inheritance, $250, from her late grandmother, and then it turned out she was secretly planning to sell our house and fight over the $500, estate in court while I thought we were working things out. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to find out my wife was cheating on me, but here I am. The craziest part is, it all started with something I never expected, her accusing me of stealing her inheritance, which turned out to be a complete lie. That's the kind of chaos that sets everything off. Her name's Jessica, and I've been with her for about 7 years now. We got married 3 years ago, and honestly, I thought we had a good thing going. She was always a bit bitchy, quick to throw a fit if things didn't go her way, but I figured that was just her personality. She's the kind of woman who can be charming one second and a total nightmare the next. Still, I loved her, or at least I thought I did. It all started about 2 months ago. Jessica started acting weird, distant even. She was working late more often, always had some excuse about a new project at her job. Then she started getting really defensive about money, which was strange because we usually split everything pretty evenly. She'd snap if I asked about her bank accounts or her phone. I noticed she was hiding her texts more, deleting messages, and being secretive about her phone. At first, I thought maybe she was just stressed or having an affair with her boss or something, but I never really had proof. Then came the day she accused me of stealing her inheritance. It was out of nowhere. She found out I'd been looking into her grandmother's will, just trying to understand what was going on with her estate. Jessica's grandmother, who passed away last year, left her a sizable inheritance, $250, which Jessica was obsessed with. She kept saying it was hers by right, like I had no claim. One day she exploded, accusing me of stealing it, saying I'd taken her money and was planning to run off with it. I was stunned. I told her I never touched her grandmother's money, that I didn't even know where the money was supposed to be. She yelled, called me a liar, and told me I was trying to steal her inheritance to cover up some other secret. That's when I started digging. I knew something was off. I checked her bank accounts when she wasn't home, and I found out she had been secretly transferring money out of her grandmother's estate, over $500,000 in total. She was planning to sell our house, fight over the estate in court, and keep everything for herself. All the while, she was acting like the perfect wife, acting like she loved me, but behind my back she was plotting her own version of a future that didn't include me at all. It hit me like a punch in the gut. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face, pretend everything was fine, and then secretly plan her own financial coup? I felt betrayed, angry, and confused. I'd trusted her with everything, my life, my future, my money, and now I found out she'd been lying to me the entire time. The worst part, she kept insisting she loved me, that I was paranoid, that I was trying to ruin her, just because I was asking questions about her sudden change in attitude. It was a mess. I didn't even know where to start, but I knew I had to do something fast before she managed to pull off her plans completely. That's when I started thinking about revenge. Not some petty revenge, but a plan that would make her see that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I needed to show her she couldn't get away with this kind of betrayal. I wasn't just going to let her walk away with everything, especially not after discovering she'd been cheating, lying, and planning to screw me over. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences. I was furious, but also hurt, because I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. Now, I wasn't sure what I was feeling anymore. All I knew was that I had to take control of the situation, no matter what it took. After I found out about her plans and the real extent of her betrayal, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept circling back to the fact that she'd been lying to my face for months, maybe longer. The woman I thought I knew was just a con artist hiding behind a pretty smile and a bitchy attitude. I felt like a fool for not seeing it sooner, but at the same time I was furious. How could she think she could get away with stealing her own grandmother's money and then turn around and accuse me of stealing it? That was the moment I realized I had to act fast. Jessica's behavior was getting worse too. She was more aggressive, more defensive. Every time I tried to talk to her about what I'd uncovered, she'd get defensive, call me paranoid or jealous. She'd say I was just insecure because I wasn't making enough money or because I wasn't as successful as her. But I knew better. I saw her deleting texts, hiding her phone, and sneaking around behind my back. She'd even lie about where she was going. One night, I followed her to a hotel downtown just to see what she was up to, and that's when I saw her with another guy. It was a guy I'd never seen before, but he looked like he was in his late 30s, well-dressed, confident. They were in the hotel bar, kissing, holding hands. My stomach dropped. I watched from a distance, trying to process what I was seeing. I felt like my world was crumbling. Jessica was having sex with him. She didn't even bother hiding it. She looked right at me from the window, saw me watching, but didn't care. That was the moment I knew I couldn't trust her anymore. She was cheating on me, planning to leave me for some guy she just met, and still lying about her money. The next day, I confronted her. I told her I knew everything about the affair, about her plans to sell the house, fight over the inheritance, and her betrayal. Her reaction was priceless. She looked surprised for a second, then her bitchy smile came back. She told me I was crazy, that I was just jealous, that she'd never cheat on me, and that I was imagining things. She called me paranoid and accused me of spying on her, but I had proof now. I had the hotel receipts, the texts she'd sent him, and her bank statements showing she was transferring money out of her grandmother's estate. She started yelling, calling me all sorts of names. Said I was controlling, insecure, and that I didn't understand her. She said she was just having a little fun, that it didn't mean anything, and that I was overreacting. But I knew better. I saw her true colors now. She was a liar, a thief, and a cheat. And I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I told her I was done, that I wanted a divorce, that I wanted her out of my life and out of my house. She screamed, called me every name in the book, but I was done listening. I knew I had to plan my next move carefully. The emotional toll was huge. I felt betrayed, angry, hurt, everything all at once. I'd loved her, trusted her, and now I realized she'd been using me, cheating on me, and plotting her own future without me in. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she think she could get away with everything? At night, I'd lie awake, wondering if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. But deep down, I knew I couldn't let her keep doing this. I had to fight back, not just for my money, but for my dignity. I wanted her to know I wasn't the fool she thought I was. That's when I started to really plan my revenge, a way to make her regret everything she'd done to me. After I confronted Jessica and saw how she doubled down on her lies, I realized I couldn't just blow up everything and walk away without a plan. I had to think smarter than her. She was manipulative, used to getting her way with her bitchy attitude and her pretty face. I knew she'd try to spin things, deny everything, and probably try to turn the situation around so I'd look like the bad guy. That's why I started gathering evidence, quietly and carefully. I went through her phone again, saved all those texts with the guy from the hotel, and took screenshots of the transfers she'd made out of her grandmother's estate. I even installed a little voice recorder in my office, just in case she tried to say I was crazy or making things up. I wasn't planning to let her get away with this without a fight. I wanted her to see I wasn't some naive fool anymore. I was going to make her pay for what she was doing. Meanwhile, she kept up her act, pretending everything was fine, acting like I was just paranoid. But I knew her better now. I knew she was planning her escape, selling the house behind my back and fighting over the estate in court. The more I found out, the angrier I got. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I thought I was the one providing stability, while she was out sneaking around, cheating and scheming to take everything from me. One night, I decided to set a trap. I told her I was going out of town for a business trip, just to see how she'd react. I left my phone in the house, with all my evidence hidden in a secure folder. I made sure to leave my computer open with the bank statements and messages I'd saved, just in case. I wanted her to think I was gone so I could see what she'd do. Sure enough, I caught her sneaking around again. She met up with that guy and they went to the hotel. Seeing her with him again, knowing she'd lied to my face, was like a dagger in my chest. That's when I knew I had to escalate things. I couldn't just confront her again. I needed to put everything into motion. I contacted a lawyer, told him everything I'd uncovered, and asked for advice on how to protect myself and my assets. We discussed ways to freeze her accounts, get a court order to stop her from selling the house, and make sure I'd get my fair share of the estate. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some pushover anymore, that I was serious about fighting for what's rightfully mine. While all this was happening, Jessica kept up her act, trying to gaslight me, pretending to be the innocent wife. She'd cry, say I was overreacting, accuse me of trying to ruin her. But I knew better. I knew she was planning her escape, trying to hide her tracks. Her bitchy attitude was even worse now, like she was trying to push me further away so she could have her way. I stayed calm, collected, and focused on my plan. I wanted to catch her in the act and make her see that I was no fool. All the while, I felt this strange mix of heartbreak and fury. Heartbreak because I'd loved her, or at least I thought I did. Fury because she'd betrayed me so completely. I kept asking myself how I could have missed all the signs, how I'd been so blind to her manipulations. I thought about all the times she'd lied, all the money she'd secretly transferred, all the moments she'd been with that guy behind my back. It was like my entire world was falling apart, and I was just trying to hold it together. But I knew I had to keep going. I had to keep fighting for myself, for my dignity, my money, and my future, even if that meant tearing her entire illusion apart piece by piece. By the time I had everything laid out, the evidence of her affair, the bank transfers, the plans to sell the house, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. Jessica was getting more aggressive, more bitchy, as if she sensed I was onto her. Every conversation with her turned into a battle, her lying, twisting words, trying to make me doubt myself. But I'd had enough. I was done being the naive husband she thought she could manipulate. This was war, and I was ready. I contacted my lawyer again, gave him all the evidence I'd collected, and asked him to start the legal process. I wanted to freeze her assets, stop her from selling the house, and get a court order to protect my rights. I also told him I suspected she was planning to hide or destroy some evidence, so I needed to act fast. Meanwhile, I kept a close eye on her movements, watching her every step. I knew she was planning her escape, maybe even trying to sell the house secretly, so I had to beat her to it. Jessica's attitude started to shift. She became even more bitchy, snapping at me over small things, accusing me of trying to control her, calling me paranoid. She'd say I was just jealous because she was more successful, more attractive, or because I couldn't keep up with her. But I knew what she was really doing. She was trying to push me away so she could finalize her plans without interference. It was clear she didn't care about our marriage or even about the money anymore. She just wanted her freedom, her new life with her lover, and her cut of her grandmother's estate. One evening, I decided I needed to confront her again, face to face. I told her I knew about her affair, about her plans to sell the house, and about her betrayal. Her reaction was classic Jessica. She denied everything, called me crazy, said I was just jealous. She threw tantrums, yelled at me, and accused me of trying to ruin her. She said I was controlling, insecure, and that she'd never cheat on me. But I had the evidence now. I had the texts, the bank transfers, and the hotel receipts. I wasn't going to let her lie her way out of this one. That night, after she went to bed, I went through her phone again just to be sure. I found more messages with that guy, more plans to meet up. I also found out she'd been talking about how she was going to take everything from me, the house, the money, everything. She'd even mentioned how she'd make it look like I was the one cheating or stealing so she could play the victim. That was the moment I realized she was truly dangerous, manipulative, deceitful, and willing to do whatever it took to get what she wanted. I felt a mixture of relief and rage. Relief because I finally had proof that she was the real villain in this story. Rage because I'd been so blind, so trusting, and now I was left with a woman who had no respect for me or our marriage. I knew I had to act fast before she managed to pull off her next move. I contacted a divorce lawyer, told him everything, and prepared myself for the fight ahead. I knew this wasn't just about money anymore. It was about standing up for myself, reclaiming my dignity and making sure she paid for her lies and betrayal. I kept telling myself I was better off without her, even though it hurt like hell. That pain was a reminder of how much I'd trusted her, how I'd given her everything. Now, I was left with nothing but the truth and the resolve to fight for what was mine. I didn't know exactly how it was going to end, but I knew I wouldn't let her take everything without a fight. I was done being the naive husband. Now, I was the man who was going to make her regret everything she'd done. The legal process moved faster than I expected once I handed over all my evidence. My lawyer filed for an emergency court order to freeze her assets and prevent her from selling the house or transferring any more money out of her grandmother's estate. Jessica's bitchy attitude only worsened during this time. She accused me of trying to ruin her, called me jealous, said I was just insecure because she was more successful. She even had the nerve to cry and play the victim, acting like I was the one doing wrong. That made me more determined. She was trying to manipulate the situation, as usual. In the days that followed, I watched her, carefully waiting for her next move. She started acting even more erratic, yelling at me over small things, throwing tantrums like a spoiled brat. I knew she was panicked, trying to figure out how to get out of the mess she'd created. She wasn't used to being caught, and I could see her losing control. She'd often accuse me of controlling her, but the truth was, she was the one who had been controlling everything: the money, her lies, her affair. One night, she stormed into my office, her face red with rage. She shouted that I was ruining her life, that I was just jealous of her success, and that she'd never cheat or steal from her grandmother. She was trying to turn it all around, making me out to be the villain, but I didn't buy it anymore. I just looked at her and said, "You lied to me, you cheated on me, and you stole from your own family. You're the villain here, Jessica, and I'm not going to let you get away with it." She looked stunned for a second, then her bitchy mask slipped back on. She started crying, saying I was ruining her, that she loved me, that she was just stressed. I didn't buy it. I knew she was trying to manipulate me, trying to make me feel guilty so I'd back down, but I'd had enough. I told her I was done playing her game. I told her I was going to divorce her, take her to court, and make sure she paid for everything she'd done. The court hearing was a whirlwind. My lawyer presented all the evidence: her texts, bank transfers, hotel receipts, everything. Jessica tried to deny everything, but the judge wasn't buying her lies. The court granted the emergency order, froze her assets, and ordered her to stay away from the house and the estate. I could see her frustration, her bitchy attitude turning into outright rage. She yelled at me right there in the courtroom, calling me every name she could think of, claiming I was trying to ruin her life. But I just looked at her and said, "You lied to me, cheated on me, and stole from your own family. You're the villain here, Jessica, and I'm not going to let you get away with it." That moment was a turning point. I realized I'd finally taken control of the situation. I was no longer the passive husband who trusted her blindly. I was fighting back, and I was going to win. Jessica's plan to sell the house and fight over the estate in court was now stalled. The legal system was on my side, and I knew I had a good case. Every day, I felt a little stronger, a little more confident. I was finally putting an end to her manipulations and lies. She'd pushed me to the edge, but I refused to be the victim anymore. I was ready for whatever came next, because now I knew the truth, and I was going to make her pay for everything she'd done. In the end, everything played out exactly as I'd hoped, maybe even better. The court's order froze her assets, stopped her from selling the house, and forced her to face the reality of her actions. Jessica lost her grip on the estate, and her plans to fight over the inheritance crumbled. She was furious, trying to lash out, but the evidence against her was overwhelming. Her bitchy attitude turned into desperate rage, but it was too late. The truth was out, and she couldn't deny it anymore. The divorce was finalized a few months later. Jessica moved out, still spinning her lies, still claiming she was the victim. But I knew better. I knew what she was: a manipulative, deceitful woman who thought she could cheat her way through life, taking everything she wanted without consequence. I didn't get everything I wanted. Part of me still feels the sting of betrayal, but I got enough. I got closure. I learned that trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to rebuild. Looking back, I realize how much I was blinded by love, or maybe just by hope that everything would turn out okay. I let her manipulate me, ignore the warning signs, and I paid the price. But I also learned a lot. I learned that sometimes you have to fight dirty to protect yourself, that honesty and evidence are your best weapons. And most importantly, I learned that no matter how much you love someone, if they betray you this deeply, walking away is the only way to save what's left of your dignity. Now, I'm rebuilding my life. I've moved into a new place, started focusing on myself, and I'm slowly healing from the betrayal. The trust I once gave so freely is gone, but I'm learning how to be cautious without becoming bitter. I want others to know that if you're ever in a situation like this, where the person you love turns out to be a liar, a thief, and a cheat, don't be afraid to fight for yourself. Gather your evidence, stay calm, and don't let them manipulate you. Because in the end, the truth always comes out. And when it does, you have to be ready to stand your ground. Jessica's gone now, and I don't miss her. I don't wish her ill, but I definitely don't trust her anymore. I just hope anyone else going through something similar learns from my experience. Trust is fragile, betrayal cuts deep, but if you stay vigilant, you can come out of it stronger. I did, and so can you.